I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, we have not called for the killing of white people, at least for now.
Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. You must never be scared to kill. Shoot to kill. Kill our. Shoot to kill. Attention.
You'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter, they freak out. It sounds like a genocidal call.
Cry babies.
It's time to end the double standards in hate speech cases in South Africa's courts. On the 4th of September 2023, the Free Market Foundation's Rule of Law project will appear as a friend of the court in the Supreme Court of Appeal matter between the civil rights group AfriForum and the Economic Freedom Fighters, which is led by Julius Malema. We, the Rule of Law project, will argue that the court must set precedent that holds the politically powerful to the same hate speech rules that have been applied to ordinary South Africans. Joining me to discuss this case is the Free Market Foundation's Head of Policy, Martin van Staden. So Martin, could you provide some context and background to this case? Why is it important, and why is the Rule of Law project joining this matter?
Absolutely. So this case has been coming for many years. AfriForum has litigated against Julius Malema many times on hate speech over the years, but it kind of reached its climax in August of 2022 when advocate Mark Oppenheimer, who acted for AfriForum in that case, who will now act for the Rule of Law project, on live TV broadcasts really allowed Mr. Malema a lot of room to explain what does he mean when he says, and when he and the Economic Freedom Fighters chant, "Kill the Boer." Let's just say it's both entertaining and both very worrying viewing, where Mr. Malema really expands on the type of injustices he would like to see committed against a segment of the population based on race.
He said, what we need is a system in place to get rid of white people. Is that correct?
Yes, we are commanding Nyamazane to shoot and kill. And any white who remains here is going to be killed.
Are you scared of killing?
I'm not scared of killing. A revolutionary is a walking killing machine.
And then after all of that, the Equality Court still said that Mr. Malema is not guilty of hate speech. Very predictably, AfriForum appealed that case. And after witnessing what we witnessed, the Rule of Law project also got very concerned and said, listen, we've seen other cases being heard on hate speech, and we've seen how the individuals who are guilty of hate speech have really had the book of hate speech law thrown at them. Huge fines, even prison sentences. But after the performance by Mr. Malema in court and in public, he gets not even a slap on the wrist. And to us, that seems like a very severe case of unequal application of the law, where the courts, knowingly, maybe unknowingly, are in the process of carving out an exception to hate speech rules that protects powerful and influential politicians, when that is precisely what hate speech law is meant to guard against. It's specifically to ensure that the powerful do not get to say these things that really result in physical harm to ordinary people. So we have hate speech law in South Africa being turned on its head. AfriForum appealed, and we are intervening as a friend of the court to help guide the Supreme Court of Appeal towards an appropriate precedent for all courts.
So we, as the Rule of Law project, are not applicants in the matter. We are mere friends of the court, and we want to uphold this very important principle of equality before the law and the rule of law, as our name suggests. Why is that important? Why is it important to have the equal application of the law across society?
Yeah, so look, there's a lot to be said about hate speech, and I mean, as we know, we were not the ones to litigate against Mr. Malema in the first place. We are only getting involved because we see a very contestable area of law, like hate speech, which has the potential to really infringe on freedom of expression being applied in favor of the very people who create these laws. Now, that is precisely why the equal application of law principle is so important. The rule of law, the kind of the fundamental postulate of it is that both the governed and the governors will be bound by the same law. And the kind of thinking that goes into that is that if you have the same law for both, then the types of laws that the governors would create will not be as tyrannical or oppressive or simply bad and misguided as they would tend to be, because these people also need to live in the same country that is governed by those laws. And when you have equal application of law, then those laws will be better because everyone is bound by it. If you have unequal application of law, then the political class will craft a very oppressive system because they know they are not bound, they are exempted from it, and only the others are bound by it. That is why, for instance, apartheid was so bad because it didn't apply to a certain segment of the population. That's why people rightly opposed it. So that is where the equal application of the law principle comes in. The other thing, maybe a bit more boring but no less important, is certainty. We have the Constitution that sets out what hate speech means. It's written in black and white. We have the Equality Act, which says what hate speech means, and we have this hate speech bill, and those definitions are not being applied equally. So how are ordinary South Africans supposed to plan their own affairs if they just don't know how these clear words are going to be applied? And we're going to the Supreme Court of Appeal. It is the second highest court in the land, and we're saying, listen, there's a lot of vagueness now in our law about hate speech. Please make it clear for all courts. And secondly, ensure that there are no double standards between civilians and the political class. South Africa, the rule of law is a fundamental founding value of our constitutional order. And in our view, if we don't stand up in a case like this, then there's no saying how this could develop in the future, where other principles of the rule of law are just jettisoned.
Yeah, and the big danger here, obviously, is that hate speech law could be weaponized on behalf of political elites who want to stifle dissent or punish their political opponents. Mm-hmm. That's very dangerous. Mm-hmm. So I think ordinary South Africans might be thinking, well, look, this doesn't apply to me. I shouldn't be too concerned. I'm a pretty nice guy. I'm not going to be saying hate speech things to people. Mm-hmm. But actually, it's a very important principle in terms of our democratic dispensation that yes, these laws are applied equally and fairly. Mm-hmm. If you would like to support the Free Market Foundation's Rule of Law project in its attempt to end the double standards in South Africa's hate speech laws, then why don't you click on the link in the description below to find out more about our case before the Supreme Court of Appeal and how you can help to support our cause. My name is David Ansara. This is the Free Market Foundation. Remember, stay free.